All right, TTA has been back for a month. It's been amazing, and we're gonna make a video about the first month of TTA's return. This will end in a ranking because I love rankings. We're gonna power rank the 10 best players in the return. I'm gonna try to maintain my excitement levels, but I did just attempt to record this video, was 2/3 through, and then received a phone call I couldn't not listen to, so I'm very frustrated at the moment. I couldn't not respond to. But hopefully I can return to being excited about TTA. It's been great. Since the return, there's been basically 500 games played every day. If you look at the game counter, it's gone up just 500 per day back. And that's been pretty steadily true. Like, it's not like the first day had significantly more than we've seen since. I think we saw a bit of a larger variety of different people returning on the first few days back than since then. But it's been pretty steady. It's declined a little, but not that much, and that's been really great to see. There's been at least one chat tournament every weekend with up to 16 entries. We hit 16 entries twice, which I think is incredible, of 16 active people willing to play a chat tournament at one time. That, doesn't look too bad even compared to some of the good old days. And I think it looks like chat tournaments are probably going to end or be put on hiatus because a bunch of them ended up with 8. But I've been pretty impressed with where they've landed. We've also had 3 golden boots. These are multi-day, usually closed tournaments, 2 of them with over 30 entries. We have a returning clan scene that isn't quite in its full form. I didn't edit this slide. There's actually going to be 5 initial clans. We're going to see the return of Avalanche, which is a full roster, Brotherhood of Seed and Triple Triad Trinity, which are both almost complete, Twin Moons, which is pretty close to complete. I think they have 2 more slots to fill, and FFF, which is newly reborn and just started up again a few days ago and is already halfway to a complete roster. I think a lot of the teams look really good. There's some cool names on them. It's going to be fun to see what happens. There's likely to be a smaller clan tournament starting up soon before we get into the real meat of Clan League. We've had an active Discord. It's been really fun to have different chats going on, different people to talk to. Even after the initial flurry where, I woke up and there's 400, 500 new messages, we've still had complaints even, a month later in the last few days that there were too many messages to read up after sleeping, where, coming back to see that much activity is just delightful to see. For just people I've rated in my top 10 tournament players of all time, we've seen 8 of my top 10, and no one expected to see Doc Evil back, so that's pretty close to a complete roster. Yojimbo being the big miss so far, and 20 of my top 30, as well as many awesome people, both other great tournament players, other players in other ways, other people who are just super chill to be around. So I'm going to get into the tournament action because I like doing rankings and I want to discuss the events that have happened so far. So the most important and biggest thing, I think, was the Carver Finals, which was 5 years late, Vialva versus Turds. Vialva really applied immense pressure in Game 1, but Turds survived. You can see me watch the Games 1 and 2 live in a video I recorded, and I thought Turds was just dead meat. But Turds survives in brilliant fashion, and in the end, Turds wins in Game 4, locking in the win from the position you can see on the right. So congratulations to Turds on becoming the 13th multi-time champion on TTA. I think I ranked Turds the 15th best player of all time, tournament player. And I don't know if this moves him or not. I think it firmly means he sort of was in a tier of 15th to 18th. Like, you could have him anywhere in that range, and I thought he should be at the end of it. But if you moved him down a few, that would be legit. I think this locks him into being in the 13th through 15th tier of Cookie, Vid, and Turds. And I'm not sure where it puts him within it. I'll have to think about that. But I think he's firmly in that range. I don't think it quite gets him into an argument for 12th with Sujiro, but it certainly gets him a lot closer to that argument, and is a great win, and I'm really happy for him and proud of him. We've also had Golden Boots. The first was won by Turds, who averaged 5.66 over 35 games, so Turds really doing excellent so far. The second, Delhi breaks that record with 5.73, though in a shorter span. I would say Turds' first GB is a little more impressive than Delhi's second, though Delhi won by a huge margin over second place. No one else broke 5.5. The third Golden Boot saw a crazy run. I thought I was going to win it. I fell off at the end. I ended up finishing at 5.65. Dalial finished at 5.7. Dalamar sets a new record, breaking Dalial's previous record with 5.75, but that wasn't enough because Addy wins it with 5.85. So, really well done, Addy. Really strong top four on that one. Our best average performers over the Golden Boots. Deli is the only one averaging over 5.5. Doing it over 70 games is, excuse me, is really impressive. I'm in second. I have not yet won a GB, but I finished top four twice. Turds is in third. Tezuka in fourth, also having finished top four twice and missing the most recent GB. Addy, with his incredible run, is in fifth. Doomtrain, really good run. We'll talk about that a little more later in the first GB. Ruffles, great close player. And then Minghu Ha, Akiyama, and Dr. Jackson all doing really well too. In chat tournaments, we've had 5. I won the first one over Blizzard. In the second one, Doomtrain and I tied for first, with Smokes coming third in a 3-way finals. In the third one, Saif and Akiyama played a strange series of games, which Saif eventually... well, the board says he won, so he won. In the fourth chat tournament, Chickeny beats Turds. Really strong finals there, obviously. And in the fifth one, Metis plays... He hasn't played much back, but he wins his first mini-tournament, beating Akiyama. As I said, chat tournaments may be ending here, but there's so much going on. I think that's okay. Though I like having something that's basically guaranteed to be open that happens regularly. Because there's no risk of closed not happening, right? One of the things that makes GBs really good is they're closed. It's a lot of games. It's easy to get in a lot of closed games, relatively speaking. It's a fun event that everyone participates in, or a lot of people participate in. But chat tournaments are open, and open is a bigger ask. It's both a bigger time commitment, a bigger energy commitment, and there's less likely to be upsets, right? If you're an okay closed player playing the best closed player, you have a better chance than an okay open player has against the best open player. And so it can be less inspiring to jump into, very much in, standard poker chess comparisons for closed and open. But I think it's really nice to have stuff where open regularly happens. And I would be a little sad about chat tournaments disappearing if I didn't think there was significant other open ready to step in. But I do think there is right now, and I think that's great. I think the clan stuff, I think some other minor tournaments, there's a bunch of things coming through. And SE Nephilim, there's going to be a new SE, which we'll get to, I think sets us up well even without weekly chat tournaments. Chat tournament, best overall performer, Midas. I probably should pronounce it Midas, like King Midas, but I'm used to saying Midas. Midas at 100% won his only tournament. I'm in second, having won one of my tournaments and tying for first in the other. Chickeny won a tournament to put him in third. Turds played only one, but made the finals in a 16-person tournament, so went 3-1. I didn't update all the stats, sorry. I think Saif is below this now after going out round 1 in the 5th chat tournament. Delial and Phipps are both 2-1. We have Blizzard having finaled the first one and putting up solid performances in others. And Akiyama, who has 3 top 4 finishes and has played well and is also over 50%. These are all the people at least 50%. I think these are all the people over 50%. I cut anyone at exactly 50%. One of the things about elimination tournaments in general, and I've talked about this with official tournament ratings, is if you're averaging 50%, you are well above average in the field. Like, just very clearly above average. And a lot of people will average around 50% and sort of think of themselves as players who win more than that and find it disappointing, or will win 30% or something like that. But whatever your win rate is in an elimination format, it would be basically much higher in any other format. And if we think about it, if you think say there are 16 players in a tournament, 8 of them have to go out round 1. So 8 of them are finishing at 0% for that tournament. 4 of them finish at 50%. 2 finish at 67%, 1 75, and 1 at 100%. So there's a few getting these really high win rates, and most are getting, 3/4 of the field are getting 0% or 50% for that tournament. And so if you're averaging 50% over time, you are in the 50th to 75th percentile of players, and probably actually at the higher end of that. And that was one of the interesting things I have found looking at tournament history, was whatever your win rate is in tournaments. Oops, shouldn't have gone forward. I think you're actually performing better than that. So we have a power ranking. I love power rankings. These are going to be the top 10 of the return in the first month. Whenever I feel inspired to do this, which might be monthly, might be every few months, I'd like to do a power ranking of, you know, who have been the top 10 in the intervening time span, with some weight for people who were previously on the list, right? Like, let's say, let's pick someone who's not here. Let's say Doc Evil was first in my power rankings, right? And Doc Evil goes relatively inactive for the next 2 months, but when he plays really well. I would say someone has to sort of top what he's done to pass him. If he plays badly during that next time, it'll be easier to pass him. But unless you're achieving things of similar like, if you win a chat tournament in month 1 and I win a chat tournament in month 2, and otherwise we're even, I would be ranked higher in the second power rankings because my result's more recent. But I sort of have to equal or get near to what you did more recently to move past you on the list. I think that's how I'm going to do it. So people have some consistency to where they land. But I could also just do it blank slate, completely new. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go, but I think I'm going to do not blank slate. So we have Midas, winner of the 5th chat tournament. He has played very little, but the 4 open games of his I have on record. I don't have games with Elemental, otherwise I would have a bunch more from his match with Dalamar in the first round of the chat tournament, which really went the distance. Very good match. But I don't have, I can't run the AI stuff that I use to do quick measures of gameplay on Elemental games. So I don't have rankings for him on that. But he's played great in the few games I have, absolutely excellently, could easily rise as we get a bigger sample of him playing open. I am going to weight open a bit higher than closed here, but as you can see, I am ranking the high closed performers really highly. For instance, Dalamar had this incredible run in the 3rd GB, averaging 5.75 per game, which broke Delial's record and was the best ever at the time. Dalamar also has had a really nice rise. In the 1st GB, the 35 gamer, he averaged 4.6 and had set a bar for himself, which was lower than that. And in the 2nd, he jumped to 5.2, jumping from well below the average score to clearly above the average score. And in the 3rd, he jumped to 5.75, which is an insane number. So it's been really nice to see his progression in closed. He's also been playing a lot of open, and it's always nice to see people. One thing Delial has said he really respects about Dalamar is he'll take any rule set. Like, often people get into the mindset of kind of, this is what I play, or I'm just going to spam out games on this rule set I like. And Dalamar is one of those people who, no matter what rule set you have up, he'll consider taking your game, and thus plays a lot of interesting games against interesting opponents. Akiyama, you could have higher. I think he and Doomtrain are similar here in that they both have these kind of overall compelling resumes. So Akiyama is averaging 5.23 in GBs, which is really good. Doomtrain, a bit better. It's averaging 5.37, I believe, and had a great run in the 1st GB where I think he was 15 games in before he lost a game, which is, I believe, the longest streak anyone has had in a GB without losing. It is certainly, I think, the longest streak anyone's had to start a GB. So, really remarkable run from Doomtrain, certainly is the edge over Akiyama in GBs. In chat tournaments, it's close. Akiyama has 3 top 4 finishes and a slightly higher win rate, but Doomtrain was tied winner of one of them with me, and I give credit to that because I think very highly of myself. I think you could argue either way on that one. Akiyama with the higher win rate, a little more consistent, more deep runs, but Doomtrain with an actual title under his belt, and not that far behind on things like win rate. So I think that one's pretty close. Maybe give a tiny edge to Akiyama, maybe not, I'm not sure. Akiyama's also in round 3 of Speed's tournament, which is really nice and means he has the potential to rise if he happens to go deep in that tournament. But overall, I lean Doomtrain for his GB runs, but I think it's very close either way. The big knock on both of them is that while they've both been really active open players and the open field is really strong, They both, in games I have records of, currently have a below 50% record in Open, which is, given that like Delial is taking half the Open games, is by no means like embarrassing or shameful or says they're bad at Open. I think they're both very good Open players, but compared to people who have put up solid pluses in Open, and my samples on both players are reasonably big, so it's not like I've just happened to catch a few bad games. It was hard for me to put them higher just because I think the top 5 have so clearly been the 5 best Open players in the return, that I think they've been good enough at closed that I think there's a very clear top 5 and a pretty clear top 3. In 6th, I have Addy, who promptly broke Dalamar's record to win the 3rd GB. As a GB winner, a 20-game tournament, I put him up in 6th. I think he's been killing it in trade games. I also think while he hasn't done great in chat tournaments or anything, he's performed wholly respectably at Open, which is supposed to be his weakness, because mostly I think because he doesn't put in the effort to calculate. But he's looked like a very competent player there to me too, and his closed has been tremendous. He is the 5th highest average in GBs. He has set the record for best GB ever. He's killing it and got him 6th. Now, I think there's a jump to the top 5. I think the top 5 have been at least okay in closed and often near the top in closed and clearly at the top in Open. So here is my top 5 of the return. In 5th, we have Chickeny. I was really impressed by his 4th chat tournament win. Thought he played basically flawlessly throughout, and beating, in my opinion, tougher competition and playing more rounds than Midas did. I also think in general he's playing great in Open. He has outright won over half of his randoms. That's very hard to do. Just very clearly, I think, in this top 5 of players in Open. In closed, I think he's been middling. He's clearly the tie leader in GBs by quite a large margin. I think second place is like 27 ties and he's sitting on 34. So tying a ton of games in closed, very solid there, but not putting up particularly positive win rates. I think he's averaging right around a 5 in GBs. So he couldn't be higher for me because he has not put up great results in closed, but I think his Open play has been great. In 4th, we have Tezuka, who, one really cool thing about Tezuka is he's so excited to play a variety of rule sets. He's been playing a lot of hand games, using hands following stipulations that really limit what he can do, doing creative things, and putting up great results against people not playing with those stipulations. He's in the quarterfinals of Triad Wars 3, the tournament I'm running on the side, and has played fantastic there, possibly the best player so far there. And if he goes further there, I'll keep him super high ranked, maybe even higher. He's killing it in both Open and closed. He's doing it with random or with hands. He came top 4 in both the first 2 GBs, so not only is he doing great in Open, he gave me my only Open random loss so far in the return and 20-some games for me. He also came top 4 in both the first 2 GBs. He didn't play the third one, but incredible. Whatever the format is, he has done great. I have him in 4th. Very strong top 4. In 3rd, and I initially had myself higher, but I looked at stuff a little more and moved it around and ended up coming 3rd for myself. I've been, I think, the best chat tournament performer. Midas, I guess, technically is a higher win rate, but I've played 2 and they had more rounds. And, I have 1.5 firsts, having split one of them. I have the 2nd highest overall GB score, despite having not grabbed a win. And I think Delial and I have pretty clearly, if you look at the games, been the best Open players in the return. So I think one of the top 2 Open players, possibly top 1, fantastic in chat tournaments where I don't control my opponents in Open, the best there, and maybe not the 2nd best in GB because I haven't won one yet, and I'd probably give the nod to people who have won them, but averaging the 2nd highest result in GBs suggests I'm doing really well in closed too. But I thought in the end, Delial was ahead of me. He won the 2nd GB. He's the clear best overall GB player. I think he and I have been the 2 best Open players, as I said. And he won Triad Wars 2 outright. And that happened technically before the return, but I wanted to include it because I thought it was a remarkable run. And I think as we've seen in the return, the AIs are really strong. If you look at the bracket of Random Wars 1, you'll see humans are just getting destroyed. I think we have one human currently in round 3 of Random Wars 1 playing against these AIs. They're really tough. If you look at Triad Wars 3, you'll also see a lot of great humans who have ranked really highly here are out. And he beat, I think, the best of the AIs and turds to win Triad Wars 2. So I thought overall, once I decided to include Triad Wars 2 in this, he was clearly ahead of me and in very clear second place. And our champion, our top of the power ranks of our first power ranks, is turds. I think winning Carver would be enough that I may have given him just first anyway, because I just think being the first tournament winner back, even if most of the tournament was played and it was a kind of strange tournament where turds had very weak opposition until the finals where Vialva was really tough. I think that would be enough to get him here, but then I combined it with all the other stuff he's done. He's been fantastic in GBs. He won the first one, the really long one, the biggest prize one, the one everyone was really looking to win. Fantastic result there. He beat Tezuka in Random Wars 1. He beat Delial in a chat tournament. He's the only human so far in round 3 of Random Wars 1. He made the Triad Wars 2 semifinals where he lost to Delial. He's still in Triad Wars 3 where there are, I think, 2 to 4 humans left. I think Piggy and Tezuka are into the quarterfinals, and Turds and Delial have not yet played their round 3, something like that. Just remarkable results all across the board. I think Turds has been fantastic, and I think we have a very strong top end of the field, and Turds deservedly leads it for the first month back. And then, as an honorable 0th place mention, I just want to say thanks so much to Balls and Dalamar. They brought back TTA. Dalamar earned a spot for his play too, and straight up earned it. No generosity here. But it's been so nice to have it back. Dalamar, as he always is, has been so gracious in helping out with things. Balls, though not ever present, for instance, in the chat, has been clearly constantly tinkering with things and fixing things. Just today, the server was moved from HTTP to HTTPS, and that makes it significantly more secure, so we won't have the same security warnings we've been having. Things like that. It's just been so great to see, and I'm so grateful to the both of them. What comes next? So we have SE Nephilim signups, an official tournament. If you play games, please send me the move orders to all your games, ties included. I just want to have records of tournament databases. I'm so sad we don't have these. I would love to. Please help me out here. It would be so appreciated. The Speed Reunion has a fantastic prize fund of the entire FF8 deck. The results have started coming in, but until we see who's making the quarters, semis, and finals, I won't be giving bonuses for it in this month's power rankings, or at least not as big. But Blizzard and Akiyama are already in the quarterfinals, and we'll see who's joining them soon. Clan activities are going to be starting up. I have these 2 active tournaments. There's going to be bigger and better GBs. There's a current sign up for an open GB for the next month. It's going to be a full month GB that'll be really interesting and fun. So there's a lot going on, and as always, I'm going to be weighting open and major tournaments a bit higher than closed. But as you could see, at the top of my list is people crushing it in closed. I think myself, Delial, and Turds have been the 3 best players in open. And I also think the GB shows we've arguably been the 3 best players in closed, so there wasn't much competition between them this month. But I tried to give due credit to both. GBs are large sample closed events. One of the things about closed is small samples can be really deceptive, but we're getting in large samples, so I'm going to be giving lots of credit to closed on these lists, and I'm so excited for what comes. And the last thing we have is I've been doing some kind of TT Open Saber metrics, where I've been tracking open games and then using AIs to evaluate them. And I've put in a lot of energy and effort on this. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it up, but it's been a fun thing to do with my new open player database. And I just wanted to focus on a player with a curious statistical profile and focus on Piggyman, who I will say I said no honorable mentions. It's really close to making my list. And if he keeps going in Triad Wars 3, surely will next time. But he's played great in the first month with some clear strengths and weaknesses, and the main reason he didn't make the list is he just hasn't played many of the events. He hasn't played any of the GBs. He played 1 chat tournament. He made semifinals, but and ended up withdrawing due to time commitment, not due to actually losing. So really impressive performance there, and I think he's a really tough out in knockout tournaments for reasons we'll get to now. He's played great in the opening play. My ratings for players' openings, meaning first move pressure applied to the opponent, has him as the best first mover of the first month, and also as a player who does significantly better on first turn than on second turn. In fact, more so than any other player I looked at. And he was remarkably good at avoiding losing moves. Over 96% of his moves were non-losing. Less than 4% of his moves were moves that could have lost the game against perfect play, which is incredibly low. And if you look at each game he played, he only reached a lost position at any point in them in under 14% of the time. And again, this is the third lowest. Very, very hard player to beat. And yet, he's had an incredible tie rate, despite usually having a clear advantage out of the opening and being phenomenal at avoiding moves that put him in any danger whatsoever. But he has self-described having a weakness in calculation. He's talked about how he really loves this hand building because it sort of builds in patterns he figures out, he understands really well and can apply really well, and that makes it much easier for him to calculate, which is his biggest weakness in Triple Triad. So he actually had a really low conversion rate, where he got a lot of winning positions, but a lot of them he ended up just tying. So he was basically unbeatable, or very close to unbeatable, applied a bunch of pressure, but often you could find a way to sneak out, and that led to him having a really high tie rate. So I'll be interested to see if this holds up. I thought it was a really interesting profile. Very good open player. I've ranked him 26th best all time, and at other times I've ranked him, other even higher spots. And it's been great to see him back. But he was one of the most interesting players I profiled because he had this really big divide between this incredible strength of getting advantages and finding ways to play them where he was never at risk or very rarely at risk, and yet at the same time missing some chances to finish people off by not being that exactly precise player towards the end. And so anyways, I thought he'd be an interesting player to talk about in terms of these. I have profiles for some other players. If you are interested, maybe ask me about it. But it's been a fun thing to keep track of, and hopefully this is interesting to someone because I've been doing some Saber metrics on various players, and this was one of the more interesting results. So I think that's it for us. We've got our power rankings. We're excited about what comes next. And it's been so great to have Triple Triad back, and happy 1 month anniversary to all of you out there.